Hello and welcome. I'm April Sobral, and today I am thrilled to introduce two incredible retail technology experts. Together, we're going to have an insightful conversation about how technology is shaping the future of grocery retail and customer experience. First up, Roman Galicia, SVP Retail Technology at Loblaws. Roman, welcome. I'm very excited to have you in this conversation. And just a bit more about you before we get started. Roman is a seasoned IT executive with over 15 years of experience leading global technology operations and driving transformative digital initiatives for multi-billion-dollar food retail organizations. So welcome, Roman.
Thank you so much. That sounds really, really great and makes me appear very, very old when you say that. Nice to see you again, April. Nice to see you again, Matt.
Awesome. And then up next is Matt Miles. Matt is the Director of North America Retail at Diebold Nixdorf. As Director of North America Retail, he partners with grocers to modernize customer touchpoints through modular open retail solutions. With over 20 years of experience in retail technology, Matt brings deep hands-on expertise in transforming store operations from self-service ecosystems to scalable, intelligent infrastructure. Welcome, Matt. Great to see you again.
Great to see you. Thank you so much, April and Roman. Thanks for having me today.
So, are you both ready to dive into this conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So let's set the stage. Margins are tighter, competition is fiercer, and shopper expectations are evolving faster than ever. Many retailers are still navigating legacy systems while trying to innovate. So, my first question is really about when you look at what's happening in grocery today, what does a truly intelligent store mean to you? And where are you seeing that vision start to take shape? And then, Matt, I think we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So when we talk about, the intelligent store or the grocery store of tomorrow, I like to think of it more as a platform first retail. So we build on that modular core that lets us plug in new capabilities without blowing up what already works. The urgency is kind of simple, right? So customer habits are shifting faster than the legacy stacks can adapt. And grocers winning right now are the ones turning checkout, labor, and loss prevention into measurable operating advantages. The play here is to standardize the plumbing. So the APIs, the workflow, and the data. So that way you can scale AI and automation without adding friction for shoppers or associates.
For sure, that's the goal, right? Less friction for shoppers and associates. Roman, what about you? What are you seeing start to take shape?
First of all, I would 100% agree with Matt in terms of the architecture and how we need to evolve the architecture. In terms of the intelligent store, for us, it really means using signals from IoT, from computer vision, from data which is in the store, inventory data, customer data, to basically optimize the customer journey and also store operations. So when you think about the customer who now has their shopping list, to navigate them right to the right aisle via their mobile phone, via the app, to make sure they receive personalized offers. Also offer them an endless aisle to then order and get items delivered at home. And when they then arrive the checkout area, and there's a queue to see that and to use these signals in terms of there's a queue, open another lane. So this is what we see in terms of intelligent store. And for store operation, it's also very crucial. I mean, computer vision, I think, has evolved over the last years really, really significantly, and now is really mature and ready to use. And I'm quite excited to see pilots and also solutions we are introducing to our stores around shelf compliance, but also around loss prevention. So that is certainly also an important part in terms of the intelligent operations. And I mean, in the end, it really means real-time awareness of customer needs, of inventory, of the store status, and then the ability to adapt while the customer is in the store, and make sure the whole process and the whole customer journey is as smooth as possible.
Yeah, because that's what really matters, right? Like the end user, the person that's in the store. I know from running stores. And also, I was an honorary Canadian that shopped in Loblaws quite often, and I always had a great experience. So I think that's going to be really, really important. I love those comments around the intelligent store of the future. Matt, you often talk about the importance of modular open systems. What does that actually mean in practice for grocery retailers?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I love talking about modularity and openness, right? So these are two core principles that really drew, Diebold Nixdorf and differentiated us. It's part of our core ethos, right? And so what we like talking about it and why it's so important is that modular and open systems really mean that you can decouple the layers, whether that be the devices, the software, the payments, your OS, and computer vision, right? That enables retailers and grocers to swap or scale each piece independently and as your needs evolve, right? So as Roman was just mentioning, right, computer vision has come along so fast, so quickly that if you built a singular architecture a couple of years ago for one vendor, it's no longer going to be scalable for that. So that's where modular and open really start shining through in today's ecosystems. And so when you do that platform first approach, get your foundation right, that's going to enable a really big advantage for a lot of grocers. One example of that, right? So if you have that open platform, you can easily, take in the existing camera streams from existing CCTV, feed it into a new AI solution, and that can help with shrink, associate safety, or even as Roman mentioned, planogram compliance.
I couldn't agree more. And, like this modular approach is what we don't see too often on the vendor side. Usually there is more the desire to develop into a platform concept. But as Matt mentioned, it's really about speed and flexibility. And therefore, to really add components which are now in that moment relevant for us is so crucial. Therefore, I want to underline that this modular, open API, cloud-based architecture is really the foundation for everything, and not all IT vendors have yet realized that. I recently did also read a study where you clearly see a trend in that direction. So it's really one of the most important criteria for the selection of solutions.
Wow, so that means you guys are ahead, and making it easier than ever for retailers to, add on technology stacks, and I love that because, just as a former retail operator, that was always a challenge, so kudos. Roman, you're leading technology and innovation at Loblaws. What's your approach to modernizing grocery infrastructure, and where have you seen the biggest impact so far?
Yeah, we already touched on that, and I think the grocery world, especially when you have physical stores, is a very dedicated field where you have a lot of hardware and system investment in your network. So therefore, it's nothing which you can modernize overnight, but really needs a more phased and more step-by-step approach. And you, like, from my perspective, if you start modernizing, you really need to start, and Matt said that you need to start with the foundation, which means like store back office systems. That was our first step. Move them to the cloud. Make sure that your network connections are stable, and you have online capabilities to then also run cloud solutions. You can't go 100% cloud. I still believe you need a resilience in store when it comes to the very important checkout process, but start that journey, and keep some edge computing within the store. So that I would say this foundation, the infrastructure foundation, get that right. That is the first step, and then the next step is really going in the direction of a unified e-commerce platform. Because when you think about use cases, and we just had a store visit today where um, uh, where we did see the latest pilot in terms of scan and go. In those examples, you really see how in-store processes and online processes or online digital touchpoints come together. And this means you need to unify and standardize the data sets and the systems to actually have a smooth and consistent customer journey across all channels. So I would say investing in that is also very important. And again, this is nothing you can achieve overnight. This is a step-by-step approach. Like the modernization of your point of sale system is a huge step. And what we are really doing is to make sure we modernize step by step, module by module, to be ready for the requirements of our business departments, requirements of our customers, which are increasing for sure.
You mentioned that you just had a store visit. I love that as store person. Do you learn a lot when you go in the stores of how you're implementing things and how that comes together? Because it sounds like it's one of your approaches.
Absolutely. And it is, I recently had the discussion also with a colleague. It is very surprising. We are doing this on a regular basis to do store visits also in different regions. And it's really, really surprising how often you come back with 3-4 pages of topics. You would think that at a certain point in time, there's nothing new to acknowledge or to take with you. But from my perspective, is always the case, which also shows us we always need to adopt. There's always, the competition is doing something else. The customer is asking for additional topics. We realize that the customer behavior is shifting. So there's always something to adopt. So therefore, I think it is crucial, to the point that I'm also very much motivating my team and my employees to be in the store for 1-2 days per year, to actually work there, to really picture the reality and the real life, as they are responsible for store technology.
No surprise that you're getting it right then, because people that go into stores and learn what their customers need always make that experience so much better, in my experience. So good for you. I love to hear that. AI. Let's talk about AI. AI has become a big part of store innovation, right? And one example that really stands out is a European grocer that deployed AI driven shrink reduction tech and saw 15% fewer interventions from staff. That's pretty big. Matt, what factors typically make these kind of rollouts successful?
Yeah. So I think it always starts with, successful rollouts always just really start with the clear problem framing, right? So knowing what you're trying to achieve up front. And as Roman mentioned, like going into the stores, getting them involved early, that really helps. And when you do that, that helps drive that problem framing. And then you can define which shrink scenarios you're actually targeting and how you'll measure them. You really need to do that before you start building out an ecosystem or even turning on a single camera. Then you need to train the front line. So AI reduces the interventions, but associates are still critical to actually a successful program. So you need some simple playbooks for them when help is required. And then third, you need to be able to close the loop. So we really believe in a continuous improvement cycle that drives week over week improvement of the project. If you do these things, then you're going to have a repeatable operating rhythm. And that's really where the value comes from. So making sure that you start off with the clear problem framing, training your frontline associates, and then making sure that you have the data so that way you can have that repeatable process.
Training, music to my ears. I'm just a big advocate for training people, because you can adopt technology, but if you don't train people in the front line to use it well, it's going to be a hindrance. So I love to hear that as part of your 3 steps. I think everybody should really take heed to that. Roman, how are you and your team using AI at Loblaws to improve customer experience and operations?
First of all, to the people topic, it's still the case that 4 or 5 AI projects fail, and the people readiness actually is one of the most crucial parts. And to your point, we often do forget that, but you need to design your processes around the customer or the colleague. And there's often the discussion in terms of how do colleagues react to AI pilots, AI projects. My experience really is they are more than excited. And to answer your question, I mean, AI is not new for us, and AI is not new in retail. When you think about automatic replenishment systems and forecasting, this is something which has been done over the last 10 years. But obviously, we now have a different chapter and really an acceleration of the development. And First and foremost, I would say personalization is one of the most important topics for us. There is really great value in making sure we personalize the experience for our customers, but also for our patients, for the pharmacy stores. And we are heavily investing in that. And we do see great results also in regard to one-to-one personalization when it comes to uplift and conversion rate. And the next big topic, and a topic where I'm really, really excited is also customer facing, the possibility to scale your customer facing um, uh, capability. We are currently looking very much into conversational AI. And just recently, we have concluded a project in that regard, and this has nothing to do with like the old IVR systems. You still know it is really very, very authentic. It's really fast. It has access to our backend system. So when you tell the conversation AI you are throwing a birthday party, it can recommend items and then also look for availability and promotions for a certain store. And this is not just making sure we are efficient in our operational processes. This is uh, also a way to actually increase the customer service and make sure we are there for our customers, while our colleagues in store can actually concentrate on the important things. And next to the conversational AI topic, to Matt's point, computer vision, really, really important. We are very excited about computer vision rollout projects to make sure we ensure the shelf compliance, to find missing items and holes in our shelves, and then generate either orders to the warehouse or a pick list for our store colleagues. And then, of course, the loss prevention part leaves us also very, very excited when we look at the business case. And I really have looked into this topic many years, and it was always an edge case when I think like 5 years back. But now it is really, really interesting. And also in terms of it, when you think to your point, April, when you think about colleagues who actually need to react to customers who do forget to scan, it's much smoother if this is a system topic. The system raises the intervention, and then the colleague comes to the customer saying, "Oh, can I help you with that? Oh, you might want to scan the item again." That completely changes that. And then back to my point, this really excites our people, because it really also improves their day-to-day life. So people first, and especially around computer vision and conversational AI, I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, I was watching something earlier actually before we jumped on, and there's somebody that I follow quite extensively on social media, and she was saying she was at an AI conference, and she was saying in the future she doesn't think keyboards are going to be used. Right? You're literally going to be having a conversation all the time and just speaking everything out loud, using AI to do everything for you. And I thought that was just so fascinating. I was like, oh, can you imagine if keyboards go away and we're literally just talking to everybody like, this is what I need. Give me the grocery map list to go and get it. And now people can just find things easier. I'm so excited about that because I love communication tools like that. So super interesting. I can't even imagine keyboards going away, but it could happen in the future. you know, who knows? But to expand on the frictionless journey, because you just talked about that a little bit, like with scanning and having somebody support you, because this applies to both customers and associates, like what does it really look like today and what innovations are shaping that experience in terms of a frictionless journey in store?
So from my perspective, I think in terms of success factor for innovation on the AI projects is really the concrete use case and the business case. And in terms of frictionless, when you talk to especially technology retail colleagues and then you speak about frictionless, it's always about the checkoutless store, which is a really great idea. But according to the calculations I have seen over the years, still not, especially if you are in a discount format, still not scalable. But in terms of customer journey, I think we really need to embrace customer journey, and this means reducing friction wherever we can. And it is true that the checkout and potentially standing in line, that this is one of the biggest friction points, and you can improve that by a smart checkout concept where you combine assisted lanes, but also offer self checkouts, which is a huge trend. And I also see my parents, which haven't used self checkouts before. They are more and more also in favor of doing that. So it is there, and that's one way to remove friction and to make sure it is smooth. But then also concepts like scan and go, where you remove friction. Additional services you offer in store, like the digital wayfinder within the store on the basis of your shopping cart, to really make sure you give the choice in terms of maybe this item and this non-food product is too heavy and you don't want to carry that, and why don't you just order it to be delivered at home? So like really look at the friction points and at the pain points you have today in terms of the customer journey or the colleague journey, and work on those. So it's from my perspective, it's more than the checkout less.
Yeah, I like that because I think that we just think of frictionless as just checkout, like just self checkout, but we don't think about all the other pieces that go into it. Like just what you said about somebody being in a store and thinking about, I don't want to carry that home with me and I can just order it and send it home. That just made me think about 2 shopping experiences I had in the last 7 days where I would have made a buying decision differently if I could do that. So I like that thought around that's what frictionless looks like. It's not just the end journey when you're just checking out. It's more than that. What about you, Matt? Like, how do you see that?
Yeah, so as Roman mentioned, right? So when you start taking everything into a overview of the store, DN really focuses on the checkout, and we kind of look at it as, how can we introduce more frictionless journeys, right? How can we remove that friction from the transaction and the end of the journey in the store, right? So we look at it as two major areas: remove the seconds and remove uncertainty. And removing the seconds really comes from fixing the basics. And, I know that Roman and his team did this year in terms of when it comes to the checkout journey. The UX UI workflow really has a big impact on those seconds, right? Produce recognition, intervention handling, all of these add up seconds in the transaction. And what happens at scale that, Loblaws is working at and others, a single second per transaction compounds into real capacity improvements. So if you do 1 second savings per transaction across 1 million transactions a day, it's over 100,000 hours a year of saved throughput and time that's in the store. So that's where DN really looks at it in terms of, getting rid of some of that friction. It doesn't need to be that big bang approach where we go to just walk out technology. We need to start doing the step approach as well, and making sure that we're taking care of the basics today, and then introducing AI and other areas to handle some of those other friction points in the future.
That's super interesting. That is a lot of time saved. 100%. I had never thought about it like that. So that was very fascinating and educating. I think next time I'm in a grocery store, I'm going to be like counting how long it's taken me to get out and out. That was really interesting. Great KPIs to look at for retailers wanting to improve that frictionless experience for their customers. And I also, Roman, I love the way that you call customers and colleagues. Like it feels very inclusive. It feels very like we're working together to make sure that that experience. I just wanted to say that out loud because I've never really heard somebody say that, and I really appreciate that. Um, for retailers looking to be future ready, where should they focus their investments first? I'm sure it's very overwhelming. Like you had shared, Roman, earlier, that it's not a very fast process. It's a step by step process, and it's a big journey. And money's tight. Like where you're putting your money and you're investing to improve things is very, very critical. I think the decisions that people don't take lightly. So to be future ready, where should they focus their investments first, Roman?
Yeah, we touched on that already before a little bit. So from my perspective, it's not about, like, in the first step, about the shiny object. It's really about the foundation and foundational investment when it comes to a cloud-based modular architecture with open APIs. And then really working on unifying your systems and the channels, unifying your data to be able to then also use that for the optimization of customer journeys within the store or online, but also for personalization. And that is something which you need to plan over several years. And we always try to run that in more discrete year-to-year projects, and really also use business requirements. Our business is very creative and has many good ideas, and then by implementing certain topics, right now we want to optimize our promotions, which means we need to be able to run much more complex promotions than in the past, which also means we are centralizing the promotions piece now, which then also feeds online and the in-store checkout. So with this requirement, we then also um, drive the whole architecture in the right direction. But it is more a step-by-step approach. And then having a more modular foundation, this also enables you to be quick when it comes to let's do a self-checkout loss prevention solution, because you can integrate it much easier. So this is how we started the journey, and we are not yet done. We are on that journey.
Great. I love the and I'm hearing a lot about the modular. Matt, what about you? Is there anything you're gonna add? Because you're obviously working with a lot of retailers, Loblaws included, but, like, what do you think?
Roman hit it on the head, right? So when you start looking at how you approach, how you start doing any sort of evolution, it's the foundation. So you need to get the foundational aspects right. And then he also mentioned the data, right? So we're very aligned when it comes to how we do some iterative and being innovative, right? If you don't have that foundation right and you don't have the data, then you can just be chasing that shiny new object, but you don't actually know if it's going to prove out an ROI, if it's going to scale. So yeah, absolutely, he hit it on the head with that. And then once you have that, that's when you're able to really then understand how you're going to make that shiny new feature work in your environment, right? So I have nothing to add from what Roman mentioned. He hit it all on the head.
Awesome. Well, this is such a great conversation, and I've learned so much. But, so to wrap this up, looking ahead, how do you see grocery evolving, and what might be the biggest um, opportunities for retailers in this segment?
Yeah. So when we started thinking about what's ahead for grocers, right? So a recent survey of retailers found that over 80% of retailers, grocers, they believe that in the next 3 years, about 40% of all transactions are going to be going through self checkout. A lot of grocers are already there today, right? So grocers need to have one integration supporting all those different checkouts, that modularity, and then you can reduce the friction, and that has to be seamless to the customer. So that's where having that single platform that's going to enable all those various self-service journeys will shine, right? So that is where the grocers have the biggest impact in the near term. And then, really focusing on how do we target the time bombs in the checkout process with AI. So once you have that foundation built, then you can start narrowing in and laser focusing in on where in the checkout experience and that customer experience is the time bomb, right? Whether that's fresh produce recognition, shrink, or to Roman's point, right? You have a large item. How do you get that home? Trying to figure out how to solve that problem in the actual moment and remove that time bomb, because again, every second matters. So that's where some of the biggest opportunities lies for grocers up ahead. And moving over to a much more self-service mindset is kind of where the shopper is going. So we just need to be prepared for that as self-service becomes that dominant transaction mode in the future.
All right, awesome. Roman, anything else you would add to that as well?
No, I would agree, and we actually did that exercise some weeks ago in terms of how will a grocery shop look 2035, and I think it's more a projection of everything we already discussed, and probably we will see customers expecting not just products but more experiences. And when you think about recent announcement of competitors of ours in terms of collaboration with OpenAI, and the possibility to also shop via GenAI, then this is really interesting. And then we can just imagine that somebody again wants to throw a birthday party, and your agent knows all your context and knows you have a son of a certain age and the preferences, and start suggesting items you need for your birthday party from the grocery shop, but also then starts proposing reservations for a great location to do that. So I think AI will help us in our daily life much more, and we need to be ready for that and enable that. And then, of course, when it comes to operations, AI will play a huge role there to optimize processes, to further support our colleagues in store, and make sure that everybody has a great experience. I also see this omni-channel unified commerce topic further evolving, and we will see a blurring of channels and formats in that regard. And for me, the store of the future is not just a place to pick goods off the shelves, but it's really also a fulfillment center, and it's a showroom, and essentially a community space, because you have all these other options. So it's less about product, and it's more really about the experience from my
The
perspective.
experience. I love that. I love that, and I would definitely confirm that. I think experience in any retail environment is just going to become even more important. And I think you can become a community hub, right? Loblaws can become that community hub that has these different. You already do it, so I really appreciate that thought. Final thoughts. If you could leave grocery leaders with one piece of advice, just one, as they build their store of tomorrow, what would it be? One takeaway.
I would say, I would say that there are two things. The architecture is important, but as I need to decide for one thing, I would say really I think it was kind of the theme throughout our discussion. Keep the people at the center of your tech strategy, which also, you see the store behind me. You really need to embrace that, and you need to have a customer first approach when it comes to projects and technology rollout.
So get in the store, like Roman and his team, and see what's happening in store with the customers and the colleagues, because that keeps you top of mind. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, so obviously keeping the customer and the associates at center of everything. So if there's anything else that we would add is probably just making sure that you're measuring what matters and measuring it separately, right? So a lot of the times when we're working with grocers, they have their shrink number, but they don't know where the shrink comes from. They don't know if it's coming from in the aisle or at the checkout or the self checkout, right? And as the journeys keep on expanding and going beyond just the traditional checkout and how they're leaving. So as Roman mentioned earlier, scan and go, right? Making sure that you're measuring where the shrink's happening by the different type of checkout journeys is really important. Then you can, again, dial into how to solve it, right? So a lot of the same threads today, right? In terms of platform, customer, and the store at the center of everything, and then making sure that the data is there. And it's just taking that data to the next step and making sure that you actually have the data siloed out into the different areas.
I love that. Well, thank you for joining us for this conversation, both of you. It's been fantastic. I've learned a lot. I'm super excited to see the store of tomorrow, especially Loblaws. Just being an honorary Canadian and living there for 16 years and used to shop all the time on Lakeshore and the beaches. So super excited to see where you're taking this. And if you enjoyed today's discussion, follow Rethink Retail for more insights from grocery leaders shaping the future of retail, like Roman and Matt. And if you want to keep the conversation connect with our speakers on LinkedIn to keep that conversation going. You can learn all about what they're doing. And so I highly, highly recommend that you hit that connect button, send an intro message, and learn more about them. So thank you so much to Rethink Retail, and thank you to both of you for this insightful conversation today.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you so much.